guys. So this live I wanted to do really quickly because today I launched my website, my blog, and I'm really excited about it. And so this is, normally I'm doing anime and manga, excuse me, over here, but I wanted to share this too because it's similar to what I've been doing, but also because I think that the people in this group in particular can get a lot of appreciation out of the book that I'm going to review and then the material I'm going to share after that. So if you guys visited my blog or read my post or liked any of the stuff, I know I was sort of bombarding everybody today. I'm going to try to keep it relevant, keep it topical and not be asking you to like a page constantly, but today was the start of everything. So if you guys did that, I'm so appreciative. It really is just a personal project. This isn't like something I'm doing to generate revenue necessarily. I don't really see a way to do that. It's really just a place for me to do more of what I do here. And since you guys have made me feel so welcome doing these kinds of videos and reviews and sharing, and it's just been so much fun. I just want to keep doing it the way that I have and make you guys a part of everything. So thanks if you guys did that. And if you haven't got a chance and you want to, check out my website. It's called annoyingyouwithfriendship.com. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So the book that I'm reviewing is called Bags or a Story Thereof. So I did a post in the morgue yesterday about my shopping spree to Collected Keller, and they were having a sale that was buy two get one trades and a bunch of other stuff on sale, but this was the one that I went for, and so I got a ton of trades. And this one, I was looking specifically for horror because over at the morgue, I've been reviewing a lot of novels, and people haven't been really as excited about that. So I had promised to do graphic novels and comics as well. And so that's what I was looking for. And I found some really good stuff. But this was one of the books that I got that was, I thought was going to be a horror. It wasn't exactly horror. Here's what it is. It's called Bags. And it's by Patrick McHale. And when I saw up here that he was the creator, I didn't know him by name necessarily, even though I have a ton of his stuff. When I saw that he was the creator of Over the Garden Wall, then that just sold me even more because that is one of my favorite series and comics and books and everything about that I love. That's what I'm going to share after this. So that's what really drew me to Bags. That and the cover artwork and the interiors, which I showed over on the morgue. The color saturation, and the color choice and the pixelation just really reminded me so much of Sunday Funnies from when I was a little kid. And it just instantly made me nostalgic. I talked about in the written review about how the main character here, John Motz, has sort of a Charlie Brown vibe, which was so adorable to me. I love Peanuts. And so his styling was really cute to me. And then having that juxtaposed by him standing on a pile of what appeared to be human bones with this beastly beast standing next to him, I instantly had to have this book. So I wish that I could finish, I could just say that this is the best book like I anticipated it being. But it was really a tough one for me. It was a thinker, and not necessarily in a great way. So the story here is about John Motz, who has lost his dog, Beth, this pretty golden retriever, and it's just John and Beth that live together. And it seems that he wakes up one day and she's just gone. So his adventure is setting out to find her. So that's pretty straightforward, and then you get the idea that he's going to run into some monsters and stuff, and he does. This is actually the devil who he runs into on his travels, but there are other weird characters too. There's a strange local policeman who you can't really get a handle on. There is a talking walrus that is thrown in a way that leaves you kind of wondering, is this all in John's head, or is this really happening? Or is it part of some elaborate dream or imagine? You don't really know. And so that is kind of strange. The devil himself is a really strange character that it's hard to grasp, which that makes sense. I would kind of anticipate that. But and then there's this friendly wolf, a wolf who is just a wild wolf. He's not anthropomorphic like the walrus, who John befriends later, and that is also really confusing. So it starts off really simple and really quickly gets super strange. You don't really know where you are. You don't really know what's happening. And you don't, all of a sudden, you have to kind of like bring yourself back to what the story's about, because it doesn't seem like you could ever get there. You know, we start out looking for Beth, and everything starts to meander and get really muddy and strange, and you actually find yourself forgetting, like, wait a minute, what's the point of this story? What were we doing? And John's character is a very, very simple person. So simple is the best way for me to describe it. I don't know if he is intentionally supposed to have like an intellectual deficit, or if he is just childlike, or if these are just quirks in his character, if this is just the way that he is, his personality. But John's mind goes to really strange places as he's on the walk looking for his dog and encountering people in his effort to find her. And sometimes his thoughts and his meanderings also make it really difficult to remember what you're doing here. Now, after I've read this and done the review and am now talking it through a little bit more, I'm thinking about Over the Garden Wall, which also sort of uses some similar devices. I feel like they're a lot more effective in Over the Garden Wall, but to sort of put the reader, like to create an ambiance around the story. And I guess it's possible that in Bags, some of these unusual choices are attempting to create the ambiance of the story, but it just leaves for me too many holes. It gets so confusing that it's like, I can see where it could be a true horror. I could see where it could be like maybe just a genre short story or even a fairy tale, but it keeps getting off whatever path it's on, including the main idea of just finding the daggone dog. So it was really difficult read for me. Because I wanted to love it so much. Now I will say that the end of the story was surprising. It really surprised me, and it was heartwarming. It was really touching and sweet, and I sort of got a tear in my eye. So I really loved the ending of it, which was also crazy because I had felt myself so drawn out of the story for the rest of the time. So I feel like I need to read this again, which, I mean, is a pretty good sign. Like, if you want to read something again, that's usually a plus, even if it's because you're reading again because you have questions. I've definitely read books in the past where I finish the story and I have questions and I don't want to revisit that story at all. So I think that's the positive side. The downside is that I just wonder how much can actually be resolved. Yeah, and if I can figure it out, if the book is trying to be smarter than me, or if it actually just is, if I just don't get it. So it is interesting and it is beautiful. I will say, for a graphic, having beautiful interiors is one of the key components of the whole thing. So for that alone, if it were graphics alone, I would give this 5 stars absolutely across the board. It is stunning. It's cohesive. I love the aesthetic. The coloring is gorgeous. So looks alone, 5 stars. But the story gives me struggles and gives me a little bit of an irritated feeling that I'm being strung along to no end. So for that, I ended up giving the book 3 stars, but I am going to revisit it and reread it again. And because it was by Patrick McHale, who created Over the Garden Wall, it brought me back to one of my favorite series of all time that I want to just sort of talk about a little bit now. If you haven't seen it or read any of the comics, I really highly recommend it. So that's kind of another reason, because I love Joel McHale's other work, that I am going to give Bags a second chance. So maybe worth trying out. If you can find a cool sale like I did, and this can be like your free book, I would definitely pick it up. If nothing else, you'll really enjoy looking at the inside of it. So now, Over the Garden Wall, for those of you who are unfamiliar, was a Cartoon Network series back in 2014. And it started, I actually brought my phone because I didn't want to leave anybody out. The all-star cast of this 10-episode miniseries cartoon is absolutely epic. So it stars Elijah Wood, Christopher Lloyd, John Cleese, Tim Curry, Baby Newworth, Chris Isaac, Shannon Sossaman, Thomas Lennon, Shirley Jones from the Partridge Family. Literally, the star-studded cast of this is so impressive and so incredible. And the voice acting is unbelievable. But if you haven't seen it, this series is a gem. And Cartoon Network is so good about doing this, about creating great shows for kids and really palatable, easygoing children's material, and then slipping in content for the adults. So you can enjoy the stuff that's for kids, things like Steven Universe, things like Star versus the Forces of Evil, Gravity Falls, and they are for kids, but they sort of elevate over time. And then as you rewatch those series, you start to think like maybe they are just for adults because they're so smart and so well-rounded. And honestly, especially with a series like Steven Universe, they get really dramatic and emotional, and you get really invested in the story. So Garden Wall was introduced, like I said, in 2014. It was a 10-episode miniseries. It is complete, and it is about two brothers, Wirt, who is played by Elijah Wood, and what is the little brother's name? Greg, who is played by Colin Dean, who I am not familiar with. But Greg and Wirt the story starts out with them finding themselves in a forest, lost, trying to find their way home. Wirt is dressed up as sort of a garden gnome. Their costumes are like really stand out, and immediately you sort of wonder, what the heck is this about? So he's got a big pointy red hat, and then the rest of his costume is like a British soldier, an old-time British soldier with like a red cape and a blue jacket with buckles and white trousers and high boots. And Greg wears an upside-down teapot on his head and these funny little flour sack pants and overalls. So it's these two characters. Immediately their costumes tell you they might not be in a world that we're used to. And we follow them on their journey to try to find their way home through three basic mini stories, three sort of mini stories that overlap and bring us to the ultimate conclusion. There are villains like Sister Whispers, the Beast, the Woodman. There are these crazy pumpkin people. The gift that I shared in the announcement for this live stream was the Beast. And I don't know about you, but I find that really scary. That's another reason I say that. I don't know if this is for kids. Like, kids can watch it and get enjoyment out of it, but like some of it is actually pretty scary. One of the best things about this series is that Wirt is in constant turmoil. He is constantly sort of freaking out about how they're going to get home, has to rise to an occasion and become a hero, and then, is brought back down to reality again. He's like on this constant up and down throughout the story of, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then he has to put all that out of his mind to save the day. And then his panic immediately sets back in again, and he has to reset. And all the while, Greg has this pet frog who he is perpetually renaming. He names it Kitty, he names it George Washington, he names it Jason Funderburg, he names it all different kinds of things. And he's just along for the ride, just bouncing along, silly, goofy, hanging with his frog, renaming his frog, and he literally can't be affected by this crazy situation, which like I said, is they're lost. They don't know where they are. It's a weird forest with lots of scary creatures and places around. And for whatever reason, Greg is just above it all. There's one line that's one of my favorites where Wirt is just exhausted. They've just been through another trial. They got through it, but like they're no closer to finding their way home. And Wirt is like, let's just accept it, Greg. We're never going to find our way home. He's like, we absolutely can't do it. We're not going to do it. And he's like, and Greg says, you can not do anything you want to. or something like that. And he just goes about his business. He's just sort of singing a song and traipsing along and having a great time. So the contrast between those two sort of keeps us on our toes and wondering, like, how is this all going to play out? The second thing that is really awesome about this, besides the overlapping 3 stories, which are really cool, and just the contrast of Wirt and Greg side by side on this adventure, is the music. The music in this series is absolutely unbelievable. It's like an old-timey piano songs, but there's lots of songs that are sung. And if you buy, this is the first comic series from Kaboom. This is a finite series that completed right after, actually it might be a couple years after the series came out. But this is complete, this particular volume right here. And in the back of this, it has the most awesome sheet music. It has sheet music for all of the songs that appear in the series. And these songs are, it's just piano and this like baritone voice. Actually, I think it's probably Chris Isaak if I had to guess. And they're all just like really haunting and, you know, some of them very creepy. They add to the mystery. They add to the story too. Characters sing songs about, you know, they encounter characters who will sing a song about what they're going through at the time. There's a teacher whose lover has disappeared on her, and she sort of bursts into song about how he's done her wrong. And they come to a town where they have nothing to eat but potatoes and molasses, which is like probably not a great situation. But Greg picks up and starts singing this cute little ditty about potatoes and molasses, and everybody gets into it. So music is a huge part of this, and it's really interesting how they use it. Sometimes it makes creepier moments creepier, but sometimes in really creepy moments, a really lighthearted little ditty will pop up, and vice versa. Sometimes in lighthearted moments, a really dark, creepy, sort of scary song will come into play. So the way that they use music is another part of like creating this ambiance. We're always sort of off balance. We still don't really know what's happening. One of the 3 sort of storylines, when it plays out, we learn a little bit more about how Wirt and Greg got into this situation, but it's all still sort of mysterious. And the theme, the overall theme of the story and the series and all of the books is called Into the Unknown. And that is a theme that I can definitely say exists in bags here. So being aware of that theme, and even though I had frustration with this book and difficulty with this book, I can see that that's a theme that Patrick McHale likes to work with and did really, really successfully with Over the Garden Wall. So if you have not watched Over the Garden Wall, it is on Hulu. It's 10 episodes. There's a little shorty. So it's like each episode is like 12 minutes long. You can watch the whole series in an evening. There are a variety of comic series. I think this was a 6-part series with issues, but I think there are several other volumes like this. They sort of continued. This is sort of along the main story. And I also have this gorgeous hardcover that is the making of the whole series, the story of how it all came to be. And it has, let's see, anecdotes from the creators. It's got original sketches. Let's see, there's like character sketches. You see that? You know, they talk about how it was so nebulous, the concept itself, that they couldn't believe it ever got made. But I'm in the process of trying to write about this, and it's really difficult, and I'm finding it even difficult to talk about now, even though I love it so much, because it is sort of just a one of a kind. There's nothing like it that I've ever seen. It is really, really special. And I mean, I even feel like it's sort of a cartoon masterpiece for adults and children, as far as marrying a concept, telling a story in 3 different ways, integrating music, art, ambiance, storytelling, folklore, just a phenomenal talent that participated in it. I just think it's a can't miss. If for some reason you have missed out, maybe you just thought it was a kid's show and it didn't blip on your radar. If you don't have kids, this is for everyone. I highly recommend that you get on Hulu and watch it today, and please share your thoughts in the comments. I plan to write a little bit more about it and post it on my blog, but I'm gonna have to put work into it because it's a really special piece, it's series, and I want to do it justice. So I hope you guys found the review of Bags interesting. I hope you are going to check into Over the Garden Wall, and please tell me what you think when you do. And that's that for today. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for everybody supporting my blog. I know it seems like a small thing, but it's big to me, so I'm really appreciative of everyone. And I will see you around. I'll have another Volume 1 review coming up probably tomorrow. And I've got some stuff coming up in the morgue. So make sure you guys are checking in, and thanks again. Have a good one. I'll see you guys.